Hey, what's up, everybody? Once again, my name is DJ, doing what I do, sitting here, chilling. And I wanted to make another video um, about a topic that, me and one of my colleagues, man, and a good friend, he owns a Krav Maga school out in Dallas, and a really good school. They kind of like the Ritz Carlton the Ritz Carlton of self defense. Really good school out there in Dallas, and we was talking about we was having a debate on whether coming in 2 times a week is enough for somebody to learn how to defend themselves. It's enough to learn Krav Maga. Coming in 2 times a week, is that really enough to learn how to defend yourself? Okay. And I thought that was a really good topic because the average Krav Maga student, no matter where you go, comes in twice a week. As a matter of fact, in the manual, when you're talking about student development, it talks about coming in twice a week. And if they come in twice a week, on average, this is how much time it would take them to get to, a particular level or belt, what have you. So coming in twice a week for a Krav Maga student is the standard. The question is, or the debate is that really enough? Okay, so let's talk about it. So on my last video, I said the phrase, I don't know how I put it because I just be talking, and I said a person who is doing if you can't defend yourself against a person who's doing a lot if you're doing a little bit. Okay, if they're doing a lot, they're just going to be better, and that's pretty much across the board, no matter what you do. I think about here, at Krav Maga, CDK, and I think about who my top students are. Remember, when I say top students, I mean that they're the most proficient. I got a couple of guys. I got a guy named Daniel, and Daniel, he come in. I mean, he don't miss a day. I think he pretty. When they look at attendance, he has the best attendance of any of my students, and he's actually probably one of the most proficient students. We got a couple of other students who are very proficient, and they come in the most. If I look at my attendance list and I see, whoever has the most classes, pretty much across the board, they are probably the best students. It's a correlation with that. When I was training, when I was coming up, I remember I used to come in, I would come into the 12 o'clock class, and I would train for about an hour. I would stay after a little bit, do a couple of little workouts or whatever. I would go get something to eat. It was like a gym, a little workout gym. I forgot the name of it. It was like right down the street. I would go work out, run some errands, and then I'll come back to the 6 o'clock class. And then I do this. Clearly, I ain't have a lot going on in my life at the time, but I would train like 12 o'clock, go to the gym, and then come back for the 6 o'clock class. Um, I was doing that like every day. And I was amongst, if not the best student at the school. And not because of my athletic ability, because there was other people that was athletic as well, but it's because of the time that I put in. I put in a lot more time. In any sport, the person who gets there first and who was the first one to get there and the last one to leave is normally the best athlete on the floor. This is across the board. Okay. So if you coming in 2 times a week and somebody else is coming in 4 times a week or 5 times a week, or even 6 times a week, as long as it's not excessive. I mean, you're gonna reach a point where it's overtraining, depending on your age, ability, and stuff like that. Where you're gonna come in and you can overtrain. But for the most part, the person that's coming in the most is going to achieve the most. I don't think that's debatable. Okay. So can you come in twice a week and be successful? I think about other arts. I've been doing jujitsu now for, oh man, I've been doing jujitsu. It's coming up on 7, 8 years. And then when I first started doing jujitsu, I was coming in, I was trying to get there like 4 or 5 times. I remember it was a guy, well, not remember, I still train with him. It's another guy who I was coming up with, who we started around the same time. His name is Brian. And when me and Brian started off, we was white belt, we was blue belt, and then we were both purple belts. But when we was always kind of neck and neck, I never was able to tap Brian. Brian couldn't tap me, and I was coming in about 4 or 5 times a week. Brian was coming in 4 or 5 times a week. Well, my schedule changed. My schedule changed in the last maybe year or so. So I'm only able to come in, maybe 2, 3 times a week. And now when I roll with Brian, he wipes the floor with me, but he comes in a lot. I mean, he comes in during the day. Sometimes I don't know if he drop in even on the weekends. So he's doubling my mat time, and he's better than me on the floor. And we're around the same age and everything, but he's put more time in. So the person that's putting the most time in is going to get the most results. Okay. When I look at jujitsu, simply talking about jujitsu, people say which one's better, Krav Maga or jujitsu, and here's the truth of the matter. I mean, for somebody who has experience in both, jujitsu it's not better than Krav Maga. Krav Maga is not better than jujitsu, but the average jujitsu player is coming in 4 or 5 times a week, and they may be doing an hour and a half, on the floor every time. The average Krav Maga person come in twice a week. So the average jujitsu person is more proficient than the average, Krav Maga person because they're doing more time. I used to box. I boxed all the way until I was 18 years old. And the average boxer coming in, 5, 6 days a week, 2.5 hours a day, and sparring hard on Saturday mornings, average Krav Maga student coming in two times a week, is boxing more proficient than Krav Maga? No, I've done both. However, if you put more time in, the average boxer is going to be more proficient than the average Krav Maga student, and the list goes on. Wrestling, they do the same thing. I never wrestled before, but they do the same thing. I know the training. They come in and it's grueling training every day. They put more time in. So the average wrestler is going to be more proficient than the average Krav Maga student. It's about time on the mat. So that's the skinny of it. That's the realism of it. That's the reality of it. But here's the thing. The average Krav Maga student is not trying to defend themselves against the average jiu-jitsu student, the average boxer, or the average wrestler, or the average MMA fighter, okay? I meet people every day, and I've never had a person sit across my desk and say, yeah, I want to join this because I just an MMA fighter who giving me problems. I want to be able to defend myself against him. The average Krav Maga student, most Krav Maga students, they come in and they have one purpose as far as self-defense goes, and they want to defend themselves against the average person on the street. And here's the thing. The average person on the street, they not training at all. I mean, you watch these YouTube videos of these guys throwing crazy, wild punches. They don't know how to grapple. They don't know how to punch. They don't know how to plant their feet. They just fighting crazy. They have no training, So can a person who has training 2 hours a week, go against a person who has no training? I would say yes. I would say yes, because they have now. Before I get this crazy stuff in the comment section, size does matter. Okay, and I could do a whole nother video about that. Size matters. Anybody who tell you size don't matter, they just ain't big. Because everybody big know that size matters. Okay, size matters. Okay, speed matters. Athleticism matters. Okay, mindset matters. And I'm gonna tell you, matter of fact, I would argue that mindset matters more than everything. Because the average person on the street who's starting trouble, they are going to come at you so violent that if you're not prepared for that level of violence, then you're going to fold. I don't care how many days a week you're training, because you're not prepared for the level of violence that they are willing to inflict on you. And that's what makes you fold. That's why on the last video, I talked about real training. If you ain't doing no real training on the mat and your partner is really trying to put you as close to a real situation as possible, all the person's got to do is come at you hard, and you're going to freeze. That's why the training that you do, whether it's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, has got to be real training because of that mindset, okay? They're going to come at you crazy, and if you ain't used to that, a lot of the guys, they train, and then especially the guys who be training with the women here, they be like, yeah, good job. Yeah, good. Oh, yeah, nice, good. You're doing great. Stop doing that. I could do a video about that too. Stop training with women like that. If you're not helping them and they don't even like it, okay? It's stop training with women like that. That's not how the guys out there who's going to be attacking them is going to act. You got to train with more intensity to get ready for these people out here in the street that's coming at you with intensity, okay? No matter how many times you train it. But if you are training with that intensity, okay, about twice a week, and let me back up. I'm not saying just train twice a week. I'm saying if all you got is twice a week, right? And you train it with intensity and purpose, at a good school, of course, twice a week, then you would at least have some tools to defend yourself against a person who ain't training at all. Because these dudes out here, most of them I see fighting and doing stuff, most of them don't have no training at all. Jiu-jitsu guys ain't out here starting trouble. You know why? Because they in the gym training. They ain't got time to be starting no trouble. Boxers, well, some boxers, but most boxers ain't out here starting no trouble because they in the gym training. The ones that's actually, trying to make something of themselves, MMA fighters, same thing, right? They training. They ain't got time to be out here doing crazy stuff out here in the street, okay? So these other people, they ain't got nothing going on, and they out here doing crazy stuff in the street, and that's who you're trying to defend yourself against. So yes, 2 days a week, at a minimum, not a maximum. I suggest trying to come in more, but if you're coming in 2 days a week, you can, at least have some answers for somebody who is an untrained, person. All right. I'm going to do another video, man, about size. Size matters because a lot of people talk about size don't matter. It matters. Like I say, anybody tell you anything different, they ain't never been confronted with somebody that's bigger than them and had to get a body off of them. All right. Damn, I went over 10 minutes, man. I'm trying to get these videos short, but I'm going to try to shorten them up, all right? So y'all like, comment, subscribe, and something else you want to talk about, put it in the comments below, all right? Peace. I'm out.